Greetings. Today I'd like to talk about Matthew 7. We've often heard people say, well, we ain't supposed to judge people. Well, that's true. We ain't supposed to judge them. Well, now, we got to take an example what that means by judging someone. I can't judge how you walk your life because I don't know how you were brought up. I don't know how your environmental was at. I don't know your social structure. I don't know anything about you as far as how you were raised, how you live your life. So judge not that ye be not judged. For what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye measure shall be measured to you again. If I sit back and try to judge someone, I could wind up being judged by someone else. Matthew 7 is a very good book of how we should conduct our lives. As it goes on, while behold, the mote's in brother's eye, but considers not the beam as an own eye. How can I say that you're not a Christian because you're doing this or this when I'm doing something just as bad? So the biggest thing that he's trying to tell us is we're not supposed to judge other Christians on the mistakes they make, because we make them too. Give not that which is holy to the dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under feet and turn again and rend you. If you're a Christian, don't try to force your Christian beliefs on other people. They're not going to accept it, and they're going to turn back on you anyway. Matthew 7:7 says, asking, you shall be given, seeking, you shall find, knocking, it shall be open unto you. For everyone that asks, receive, and he that seeketh, find, and to him that knocketh shall be open. I'm going to go down. I'm going to just kind of skip over different phrases, but you can look at what I'm trying to read on Matthew 7. So, go down to the 13th verse. Enter ye the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Just because society is saying we should accept this or we should accept that, don't. Because it says here, again, broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many which be there go in thereat. For example, when the people are talking about homosexuals, the Bible clearly says that's an abomination. That's not even a question. That's not even a question. It's not even a debate. That's what God says is an abomination. And Jesus came here not to change the law. He said through him the law is going to be fulfilled. Just because the society is saying this is right, don't follow what society is right. The Bible says, enter ye the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. If we think about the songs, there's two songs that come to my mind. Why is it considered a highway to hell but a stairway to heaven? And that's a very good analogy. Just because the crowd is going that direction, use your head. Don't go there. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ravening wolves. There are so many people that are going out here and saying that God is here. But don't listen, because if you shall know them. And I'm going to get to this verse here about knowing people by the fruits they bear. And because of 15, beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ravening wolves. Here's the 16th verse. This is the main one I'm talking about. What we do. We, as people, produce fruit. Not literally speaking, we don't have actually fruit growing on us, but what we do, how we conduct our lives, how we talk to people, is the fruits we bear. When I tell somebody something or make a suggestion to someone, I could be planting a seed in them, a seed of thought. So what the 16th says, you shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by thy fruits ye shall be known. So it's what we do that's just as important as what we say. We can't say we're going to follow Christ, but yet don't follow him, because we're not conjecturing, we're not working together with what we're saying. So your thoughts should lead your thoughts should lead your words, and your words should lead your actions. Everything should be backing up. Wherefore by your fruits ye shall be known. If people say they are following God, are they really following what He says? If we look at, I remember when Ronald Reagan was president, and he said on TV, and he wasn't ashamed, he said, when we forget that we're in one nation under God, we will soon be one nation gone under. That's the reason why I admire Mr. Reagan, because he stood for what he believed in. His convictions led him. But today, we're following all these different spirits, and and everybody's so worried about getting, oh, you offend me with this, oh, you offend me with that. And pretty soon we're going to have a nation of people that will not stand up for what they believe in. And they're going to cry out for somebody, oh, save me, because he didn't follow the law. He called me a name. And no one will be there. Now, it doesn't mean that Christians are going to be perfect. We're far from perfect. We make our mistakes just like you do. The only thing is, we know, we have faith in knowing, because the Bible says without faith it's impossible to please God. Without faith. And the fact is, if you don't have faith, you can't please Him. That's the only thing that separates the Christians, the true Christians, from those who aren't, is believing in something you can't tangibly see. Christians are not the ones that's going to attack the gays. They're not going to be saying, well, I hate you. No, God told us to love even our enemies. We don't have to hate the sinner because we hate the sin. The only thing we can do is lead them to the water and say, and the water is here. The water is here. The only thing we can do is show them, say, hey, are you following what's in this book? One day, this world is going to burn up with a fervent heat, and it says even then, every tree that bringeth forth not good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. We will eventually be cut down. We will eventually die. Period. You ain't going to argue with that one. One day, we're all going to be in the grave. But every generation thinks that they are the smartest. They are the elite. And every generation that's come forth is bringing us closer and closer to the end of time. So every generation thinks they're smarter than God. Even Revelations. We're becoming a godless society. When that happens, let's look at the school systems. There's school shootings more than they've ever been in our generation. But yet people say, where's God at there? Well, you not allowed Him in there. God can't protect people that don't want Him. God's not in the government because we think, well, He's a godly man. No, He's not. Because you won't allow God in the government. You think there's a separation of church and state. And let me correct you on that. There has never been in our Constitution a separation of church and state. The only thing that's happened is President Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to the Danbury Baptists because they believed that our government was being led by one particular religion. And President Thomas Jefferson stated, no, we're not going to be led by one religion like it was in England, because that's the reason we left England, because of religious persecution. We want the Christian religion to lead the government, and we want to make sure the government does not interfere with the affairs of the state, of the church. In fact, the forefathers thought of that so greatly, they worded it freedom of religion and not freedom from religion, and a lot of people don't know the difference. But we're becoming a society that we're throwing away God and wondering why this society, our generation is going to hell in a handbasket. What we have to do as a person is we've got to bring forth good fruit. Are you telling people, now this is the one I mentioned earlier about to one lady. I said, when you're in your marriage, if your marriage is not going right, you bless them. And she said, well, I don't know how to bless them. Do I just say, I bless you and I pray for you? Yes, that's one way. But the best way you can bless them is compliment them. Remember, we are known by our fruits. We're going to be judged on what we do and say, not what our spouse does. One day we're all going to face that judgment day. And when God asks you and asks me, and we're accountable for what we do, what are we going to hold ourselves accountable for. In Matthew 5, he talks about the Beatitudes. Starts at verse 7. He opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Poor in spirit. Blessed are they who are depressed. Blessed are they mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are which they who do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall seek God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sakes, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Understand that one. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sakes, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. There's going to come a time when every Christian we're going to be persecuted. It's coming now. Blessed are you which men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. That day is coming. When you stand up for Christ, it's going to happen, as it was written in Matthew 5. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. It will happen. It's happening now. The Christians are being thrown away. We're getting persecuted. We're called everything under the sun. We're called racists. We're called bigots. We're called this. We're called that. Stay steadfast. You are the salt of the earth, but if a salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and be trodden under foot of men. You are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and is given light unto all that is in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Think not that I've come to destroy the law of the prophets. I'm not to come to destroy, but to fulfill. So when we look at Matthew 5 and we read Matthew 7, and I want to skip here for a second because I want to make sure you understand is what you do. We are held accountable for what we do. If you're in a relationship that's abusive, bless them. By doing so, you're heaping coals of fire on their head. They can't tolerate it. They want the reaction, negative reaction. If your husband or your wife is very rude or mean, and you give them a blessing, you're not giving them what they are wanting. They're wanting a negative reaction back. Don't give them what they want. Don't feed their fire. When you fight fire with fire, the only thing you're going to do is burn your house down faster. You fight fire with water. You fight evil with good. Now, in Matthew, still in Matthew 5, we're going to go to verse 43. You have heard it that it has been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and send rain on the just and unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the publicans do the same? If you're only going to love someone who loves you, you have no reward. But when you love someone who doesn't love you, then you will get a reward. Now, your reward might not even be here. But they say karma. What comes around goes around. If you're in a relationship or you're in a situation where you're giving all you've got and you still get treated badly, you still keep treating the person good, because one of these days they will face their reward. So when we look at Matthew 5 and 7, we'll see that we will be known by the fruits we bear. So when when you love your neighbor, you love your enemies, you do the best you can to show who is your Father. Now people are going to persecute you and say, well, didn't all these Christians do this? Didn't the Christians do that? And you can say, well, yeah, but Muslims did this too. I can't be held accountable for what other people do. I can only be accountable for what I do. So let your light so shine among men. Pray for those who use you and prosecute you. It will happen. And always remember, you are like a tree. You're going to bear forth fruit. People are going to see that. Is it good or is it bad? Bring forth good fruit.